To survive, this absolute madman didn't hesitate to French kiss a slit-mouthed demon. He trolled them all. Old ghosts, child spirits, and even crippled demons suffered his wrath. He even disguised himself as a doctor, injecting a hemorrhoid ghost right in the rear. You see, Jiangqie had transmigrated into a terrifying dimension. Awakened with the legendary ghost prison system, he could bind demons to his soul and steal their overwhelming power. But let's rewind to where this nightmare began. System notification flashing in his vision. Objective: reach the Yellow Springs Hospital in 30 minutes. Warning: remaining stationary will trigger a lethal hidden ambush. The agonizing survival game had officially started. Lose focus for a second, and your pathetic little life ends here. The atmosphere was suffocatingly real. Dense, humid air clung to his skin, while the flickering streetlights radiated a bone-chilling aura. The stench of rotting wood and cursed mud filled his lungs. It was a deeply unsettling scent. Everyone warned that the demonic realm was a living nightmare. Standing in the abyss himself, he realized those terrifying rumors were absolute truth. Let us rewind the clock by 10 minutes. In the human realm, our main character was sleeping soundly at his classroom desk. A chubby classmate shook him awake in a panic. Seeing Jiangqie so completely relaxed, the fatty assumed our guy had a master plan to survive the upcoming trial. The fatty shamelessly begged for protection. He literally offered his life into Jiangqie's hands, but a purple-haired arrogant extra scoffed with burning jealousy. He mocked our main character's good looks. In the demonic realm, a pretty face equals a quick death. The extra sneered, telling the fatty to beg him instead. The fatty fired back instantly. If you are jealous of the young master's handsome face, just say so. The class president suddenly yelled for everyone to shut up. The homeroom teacher had finally arrived. Let us establish the lore. Jiangqie is a transmigrator from another world. This modern society looked perfectly normal, but it harbored a devastating secret. A parallel dimension of pure horror existed, forcing humanity into brutal survival games. The teacher tried to calm the panicked students. She claimed the difficulty level was supposedly low this time. But that was like saying a death sentence was just a flesh wound. Complete absolute nonsense. The classroom erupted into pure chaos. Some students flexed their fake confidence, while others called out the teacher's empty comfort. A few cowards bragged about relying on their respawn items. Toxic arguments broke out over power levels. It was a total circus of doomed souls. Legend says when the demonic realm first descended, it dragged innocent humans into the slaughterhouse at random. There was no escaping the invisible hand of fate. Society thought the ghost world was an illusion at first. They were dead wrong. The entities inside were highly intelligent and infinitely cruel. A triple S rank demon king could easily obliterate an entire city. Humanity was on the brink of extinction, until a legendary pioneer made a dark pact. He brought back a forbidden artifact known as the Ghost Stone. Finally, humanity could block the random teleportations and actively choose when to enter the abyss. This artifact even granted a precious resurrection chance. Consequently, the world government enforced a strict law. Every citizen turning 18 must face the demonic trial. And today was Jiangqie's fated awakening. The teacher stood at the podium, spitting out generic motivational speeches. She promised to wait for their triumphant return. Her final warning echoed in the room. If your resurrection count drops to 0, log out immediately. Gee, thanks for the totally obvious advice, lady. The countdown clock began ticking down. 3, 2, 1. The demonic trial had initiated. Following the system's navigation, our main character checked his status window. Ghost power, 50 points. Wait a minute. Isn't the starting average supposed to be 10? Jiangqie smirked with absolute arrogance. Did the system grant him bonus stats just for being overwhelmingly handsome? He surveyed the terrifying landscape before him. The destination was supposedly 30 minutes away, but with his god-tier speed, he could reach Yellow Springs Hospital in 10. The sinister name alone made his blood boil with excitement. Suddenly, a spine-chilling female voice whispered right into his ear. Hello there. Nice to meet you. His heart dropped. He literally just spawned in. How could his luck be this absolute garbage? The spectral woman gripped his shoulder with icy fingers. Tell me, am I beautiful? Terrified, he nodded like a malfunctioning robot. Yes, you are absolutely gorgeous, sister. Satisfied, the entity slowly pulled down her surgical mask. Surprise, you unlucky bastard. Her jaw split open in a blood-curdling grin. She raised a pair of rusted scissors, bigger than his own head. Am I still beautiful now? Holy mother of curses, it was the slit-mouthed woman. He desperately scrambled for his memories. What did those TikTok survival guides say to do? Nothing. His mind went completely blank in the face of death. The rusted blades pressed against his throat. Answer me, little boy. Am I beautiful? Jiang Qie gulped down his terror, then activated his ultimate acting skills. He pretended to be a deaf mute, throwing out bizarre hand signs to confuse the demonic entity. The split second her focus wavered, he exploded into motion. Channeling his 50 points of ghost power, he blitzed 100 meters in 10 seconds flat. There was no way she could catch him. But reality hit him like a freight train. In less than a single second, she materialized right in front of him. Her twisted smile remained unbroken. Tell me, am I beautiful? She giggled maniacally. If I am so pretty, why don't I make you match my lovely smile? Hell no. He refused to become the slit-mouthed boy. In a moment of pure chaotic genius, he jumped back several hundred meters. Hey lady, want to see my little bird? The demoness froze, completely and utterly stunned. Did the fear completely break his sanity? Enraged by his sheer audacity, she charged at him, swinging the giant scissors. Just answer the damn question. Are you blind? Can you not see my flawless beauty? Jiang Qie realized running was absolutely futile. How the hell was she sprinting so fast in high heels? She closed the distance in a flash. Am I beautiful? Good lord, this woman was like a broken NPC. Was she locked in a dialogue loop or something? Her murderous aura skyrocketed. She assumed our main character was playing mind games. The demoness decided it was time to unleash pure agony upon him. Even in the demonic realm, women still hate being ignored. To secure his future and protect his family jewels, Jiang Qie prepared to break every rule in the book. The system's beginner shield had saved him once, but that protective barrier was completely gone now. Having pushed the demoness into a bloodthirsty rage, it was time to awaken his true power. The one thing this demonic entity despised most was being mocked by a mortal man. Her fury ignited like dark hellfire. Was she about to unhinge her jaw and devour our main character whole? He scoffed internally. If it weren't for that horrifying slit mouth, she would actually be breathtaking. But her temper? Absolutely abysmal for a full-grown demon. Then, the terrifying creature loomed closer and hissed her deadly ultimate question. I will ask you one last time. Am I beautiful? Saying yes to that monstrous face was a blatant lie. But saying no meant instant death. His mind raced for a survival strategy. Suddenly, he lunged forward, catching her off guard and pulling her close. He locked his deeply romantic gaze with the monstrous woman. A crimson blush actually spread across her pale cheeks as she stammered, asking what he was doing. The main character suddenly recalled an ancient philosophy about the unpredictable nature of love. Sometimes the greatest weapon in the world is raw, unadulterated romance. Right on cue, his absolute system flashed a golden notification. The system hint revealed her tragic weakness. This terrifying monster secretly craved a gentle kiss and genuine tenderness. And, as a true protagonist who adapts to survive, he knew he had to cast aside his pride to keep his life. With his survival on the line, he had no choice but to bet it all on a crazy gamble. Channeling his inner legendary actor, he put on an intensely soulful expression. He began reciting the most dramatic, legendary knight in shining armor dialogue imaginable. Wait, scratch the silly fairy tale introductions. Let us get straight to the epic poetry. Once, a pure and sincere love was placed right before me, but I failed to cherish it. Only when I lost it did I realize the devastating agony of true regret. If the heavens gave me one more chance, I would look into your eyes and say I love you. And if I had to put a time limit on this eternal bond, I pray it would be 10,000 years. He was about to spout even more sickeningly sweet nonsense, but the demoness completely shattered the romantic mood with an icy glare. Clearly, this monstrous entity had zero appreciation for legendary romance tropes. Fine, time for plan B. He stared deep into her abyssal eyes and asked if she believed in love at first sight. Before she could even process the words, he closed the distance and forcefully claimed her monstrous lips. The dark entity instantly completely short-circuited, melting into a state of absolute shock. Our fearless main character showed zero hesitation, turning a deadly encounter into a passionate, breath-stealing kiss. When they finally parted, a scandalous silver thread connected them. The terrifying ghost froze for 2 whole seconds before furiously calling him a shameless scoundrel. Yet our ridiculously overpowered protagonist was just casually analyzing the lingering taste. Aside from the undeniable metallic tang of fresh blood, it was actually quite an extraordinary experience. He confidently turned his gaze back to the flustered demon. Her name was Xiao Li, and she demanded he wait for her, promising she would take full responsibility for his stolen kiss. Unexpectedly, he found this deadly, high-ranking phantom incredibly adorable. Who knew kissing a demon could feel this electric? Suddenly, the absolute system chimed in. Ding! Congratulations on completing the hidden taming quest. Reward granted. F-rank cursed artifact, the blood-stained scissors. He was genuinely shocked to obtain a cursed artifact right out of the gate, even though F-rank was at the bottom of the power hierarchy. Any weapon in a dark survival world was an absolute blessing. It was worth well over 100,000 system points. Unfortunately, it was soul-bound to him now. But make no mistake, these ominous scissors were not meant for simple haircuts. They possessed the terrifying ability to sever flesh and bone. However, with his overwhelming main character aura, he stood completely unfazed, radiating the absolute confidence of a dark fantasy protagonist. Absolutely nothing in this nightmare realm could shake his iron will. In a blink, the space warped, teleporting him directly to the ominous Yellow Springs Hospital. The main questline updated immediately. Survive as a medical caretaker for 7 agonizing days. The system provided a chilling hint. Fostering a warm relationship between doctors and patients yields massive survival points. But beware. An enraged patient means certain, gruesome death. Once night falls, you must sleep like the dead. And whatever you do, never open your eyes. This twisted survival mission was rated at an E-rank difficulty. Scanning the desolate, blood-chilling corridors, he realized he was the absolute only player spawned in this zone. Suddenly, an overwhelming, oppressive aura manifested right behind his back. It was the head nurse. Her uniform was dangerously distracting, clinging to curves that defied all worldly logic. His inner monologue screamed about her insanely breathtaking assets, wondering if he could sweet-talk her. But she coldly interrupted his thoughts, assigning him to take absolute control over the nightmare patients on the cursed 4th floor. She ordered him to return at exactly 6 p.m. to calculate his survival wages. She casually mentioned that room 401 housed a female ghost who required extremely special, and likely deadly, care. Leaving him to face the abyss alone, the seductive nurse turned away, tossing a remark that he would find out if any other players survived after his shift. But then, she dropped a terrifying bombshell with a twisted smirk. One pathetic player had already been slaughtered, and apparently, his flesh tasted absolutely divine. Her sadistic expression proved she lived for the thrill of watching mortals get devoured. A cold sweat finally broke out on his forehead. The game had barely started, and the death toll was already rising. Being eaten alive by these demonic entities was a fate worse than hell. Wait, did not the system mention a slim chance of resurrection earlier? Pushing those useless thoughts aside, he steeled his nerves and marched directly toward his designated death zone. The floor was an absolute ghost town, lacking even a single duty nurse. Out of the 8 decaying rooms on this ominous level, only 4 held demonic inhabitants. His protagonist luck was truly shining, instantly slashing his suicidal workload by 50%. He smirked confidently. Since it was merely an E-rank survival mission, he assumed he could easily dominate the scenario. He boldly decided to breach room 401 first, but his cockiness vanished when he saw the door dripping with fresh, thick, crimson blood. That sadistic head nurse had definitely set him up for a brutal slaughter. If this was considered an easy task, then the entire ranking system was a scam. Suddenly, his interface flashed red, warning him that the patients inside were violently chaotic. The system predicted a severed head would ambush him the second he stepped inside. While the impact would not instantly kill him, losing his dominant aura in front of high-level ghosts would seal his absolute doom. Without a flinch, he gripped his cursed blood-stained scissors, a dark smirk playing on his lips. This terrifying ghost realm treated severed heads like mere toys, and honestly, the sheer thrill of it made his blood boil with battle lust. And just as predicted, the moment his foot shattered the door open, a gruesome head launched straight for his face. With lightning-fast reflexes, he drove his cursed blades right through the skull. Inside the cursed ward, he spotted the other twisted occupants, a creepy gothic child, clutching a possessed teddy bear, an emaciated young man reeking of death, and a terrifyingly still, headless female corpse. The room descended into an absolutely suffocating, dead silence. Who dared call them chaotic? This was the literal quiet of the grave. He casually dusted off his hands, completely ignoring the absolute terror radiating from the demonic patients. The gothic girl was internally screaming, utterly horrified that this so-called human nurse responded to a harmless jump scare by ruthlessly stabbing a blade straight through a patient's skull. The emaciated boy trembled, sensing an overwhelmingly dark aura radiating from both the main character and his cursed weapon. Breaking the tension, our overpowered hero casually introduced himself as their brand new caretaker. He cheerfully announced that the head nurse mentioned someone needed highly specialized care. He requested the VIP patient to kindly step forward. Hilariously, the entity requiring his special attention was the exact same severed head he had just impaled to the wall. Awkwardness filled the heavy air as he fake coughed to save face. He plastered on a customer service smile, offering to gently extract his weapon from her skull. But his absolute system instantly translated the ghost's malicious, hidden thoughts. The hateful spirit was plotting to devour him alive the moment her head was reattached to her body. Was this pathetic monster seriously trying to scheme against him? Pinned to the floor, the two-faced ghost whined in a sickeningly sweet voice, begging the handsome nurse to pull the blade out. Oh! He would pull it out all right. With a ruthless, dark grin, he applied brutal force and directly sliced the demonic head into absolute ribbons. A mere low-level spirit dared to plot against the demon tamer? The display of overwhelming violence sent the other two terrifying entities into violently shivering wrecks. He chuckled, faking an apology, claiming he had no idea her skull would be that incredibly crunchy. His hands just slipped. Honestly. Ding! The system praised his absolute display of dominance, confirming his legendary tyrannical aura had completely subjugated the room. For the foreseeable future, these horrific nightmare creatures would fear him as their absolute ruler. They had finally submitted to his terrifying will. As expected in a dark fantasy world, absolute, ruthless violence was the only language monsters truly understood. He menacingly scanned the bloody room, politely asking if anyone else required his so-called special care. The remaining demons hugged each other, shaking like leaves and frantically stuttering that they were perfectly fine. Even the headless corpse began waving her hands in sheer panic. The headless ghost waved frantically. She didn't need him to reattach her head. She could do it herself. Suddenly, the system intercom blared. Patient 3 in room 402 was calling, so the nightmare wasn't over. Another quest? He thought surviving the head nurse's task meant an easy ride until his 6 o'clock shift ended. But in this death game, nothing came easy. If you don't grind, you don't survive. Jiang Che dragged his feet to room 402. The system remained silent, hinting at a low-level threat. He pushed the door open, flashing a polite, customer service smile. "Nice to meet you," he greeted smoothly, asking for patient number 3. Instantly, a grotesque demon with a mangled face lunged right at him. What kind of twisted welcoming committee was this? The monster crashed toward him. Meanwhile, a hanging corpse dangling from the wall kindly offered a translation. The objective? Make their demonic baby stop crying. The corpse pointed at a terrifying newborn entity. Damn it. You monsters made the thing, and now I have to babysit? Why couldn't these hellspawns solve their own family drama? But then again, if they could fix it, the system wouldn't need a nurse like him. He sighed heavily. The life of a wage slave in the underworld was truly tragic. It sounded absurd, yet perfectly logical. Jiang Che considered walking away. What would happen if he just ignored them? It wasn't like he was equipped to breastfeed a demon infant anyway. The system chimed with a grim warning. If a nurse abandoned their post, the patients could eat them alive, and the head nurse wouldn't bat an eye. Holy crap. This was a lethal trap. Refusing wasn't an option anymore. Swallowing his pride, he scooped up the hideous baby ghost. There, little monster. Stop crying. Want Big Brother to tell you a bedtime story? The baby gurgled agreeably, but its murderous intent was practically deafening. It was starving for human flesh. If the story sucked, Jiang Che was definitely on the menu. But that wasn't a problem for him. Jiang Che always had a soft spot for kids. So, he decided to tell a terrifying ghost story. Once upon a time, there were 4 creepy toddlers with antennas on their heads. The demon baby immediately shrieked that the story was boring. He hadn't even finished the first sentence. This little brat was a tough crowd. A true critic of the dark arts. It bared its razor-sharp fangs, lunging to bite his face off. Snap! Instead of flesh, its jaws clamped down hard on a pair of metal medical scissors. Didn't your monster mommy teach you not to interrupt? Jiang Che sneered. Disrespectful little brat. The survival shift finally ended at exactly 6 in the evening. All players gathered in the main lobby. Panicked whispers echoed through the hall. Wang Wei had been devoured alive. Another player's patient was a crawling upper torso. Surviving 7 whole days here seemed impossible. The weaker girls were already breaking down. Jiang Che decided to blend in with the terrified flock. My task was horrifying too, he lied smoothly. They forced me to tell them scary stories. Forced? Yeah, right. Honestly, it was hard to tell if he was the victim or if the ghosts were. Soon, the stunning head nurse made her entrance. She looked as alluring and flawless as ever, but beautiful roses hide deadly thorns. A desperate player ran up to beg for help. Slash! With a single, brutal flick of her wrist, she obliterated him on the spot. The terrifying speed of her execution sent shockwaves through the room. The remaining survivors froze in pure horror. The dead man had failed his quest and received a patient complaint. In this nightmare, useless trash was swiftly discarded. The head nurse then began distributing their wages. Welcome to the Yellow Springs Hospital payroll. Salaries in ghost currency were paid strictly based on today's survival performance. Every single floor housed a creepy, glowing vending machine. Players could use their blood-earned wages to buy overpriced food and water. Before vanishing into the shadows, the head nurse issued her final, chilling directive. Everyone was ordered back to their assigned floors. The cleaning staff had to follow her. The rest of the surviving nurses were assigned to the first-floor dormitories for the night. She paused, her piercing gaze sweeping the terrified room one last time. Once darkness falls, you must sleep, she warned. No matter what you hear, do not open your eyes. The consequences will be yours to bear. Her menacing aura made it terrifyingly clear. This was absolutely no joke. Meanwhile, Jiang Che was busy at the vending machine, exchanging his hard-earned cash for basic rations. His daily wage was a measly 100 ghost currency. Just one loaf of bread and a bottle of water cost 30 coins. This system was robbing them blind without a blade. Suddenly, his eyes locked onto a strange, out-of-place item glowing behind the glass. It was a heavy-duty flashlight. Why would a simple flashlight be locked inside a demonic vending machine? But this wasn't the time to unravel mysteries. He finished his dry meal and prepared for bed. Tomorrow's death march started at 6 sharp. Jiang Che hit the terrible mattress and instantly slipped into a deep slumber. A bizarre dream consumed his mind. Looming before him were the towering gates of the all-heavens prison. This mysterious realm again? He had dreamed of this oppressive, ancient prison countless times over the past month. He poured all his strength into pushing the massive doors, but they wouldn't budge an inch. Exhausted, he collapsed onto the ethereal ground. With unbelievable audacity, he cursed at the dream realm itself. You drag me here but won't let me in? Screw this. He gave up and decided to sleep inside his sleep. Completely knocked out in the real world, he remained blissfully unaware of the horror unfolding. A ghastly female spirit was hovering inches above his sleeping face. Dawn broke the next morning at exactly 6:30. The haggard survivors gathered in the lobby, traumatized. They whispered wildly about the night terrors. Shadows crawling on the walls. Deceased grandmothers dancing eerily at the foot of their beds. One guy was nearly driven mad by the haunting. Yet Jiang Che had slept like the dead, completely unfazed by the demonic slumber party. Suddenly, a female player approached him. She was dressed incredibly provocatively. Batting her eyelashes, she asked if she could borrow 50 ghost currency. Her name was Li Xiaoxiao, and her manipulative gears were clearly turning. While everyone else was traumatized by last night's horror, she noticed Jiang Che looked perfectly rested. She immediately flagged him as an overpowered veteran, a golden ticket she desperately needed to cling to. Borrowing currency was just a flimsy excuse to strike up a conversation. Deciding to play her best cards, she grabbed his arm intimately. She intentionally pressed her assets against him, trying to bewitch his senses. With a pitiful pout, she spun a sob story. She only had 5 coins left, barely enough for water, and was starving to death. Could you please lend me some coins? She pleaded. She even whispered that she would do absolutely anything in exchange. A lesser man would have folded instantly and handed over the cash. Unfortunately for Xiao Xiao, she was trying to seduce the ice-cold Jiang Che. To his absolute lone wolf mindset, women were just fleeting clouds blocking his view. He had crunched the numbers. Over 7 days, the maximum he could earn was 700 coins. That strange flashlight cost 500. That expensive item was definitely a hidden quest key. Lend her money? He barely had enough for his own master plan. Before he could reject her, the head nurse arrived with grim news. 5 more useless players had died overnight. She had warned them not to open their eyes, but fools always seek their own doom. Without an ounce of pity, she began assigning the second day's dreadful tasks. When your name is called, Step forward. Naturally, our fearless protagonist was right on the execution list. His mission today? Deliver medication to the horrifying anomaly in room 403. He had already done some crucial recon during his previous shift. He had casually chatted with the headless girl from room 401. She revealed that no one on the floor knew the entity in 403. In fact, the nurses sent to rooms 403 and 404 were completely devoured. The weaker ghosts only got to chew on the leftover scraps. He asked the demon family in room 402 as well. The result was exactly the same. Even the demonic parents and their scissors-chewing baby had never seen the face of patient 403. The last nurse sent there was reduced to nothing but a single bloody arm. I can only pray there's enough left over. Damn it. Is the ghost in room 403 a complete shut-in? The system's warning was clear. Cough syrup mixed like this. Not even a stray dog would touch it. But of course, this is the underworld. If you mix it with the stench of fresh blood, or a shot of bitter coffee, it becomes barely drinkable. And if you sprinkle in some shattered glass, now that's a gourmet meal. That is exactly the twisted logic of the female ghost in room 403. To be this much of a psychopath, even I have to bow down. However, survival is the only rule here, so Jiang Che had no choice. He followed her sick demands to the letter. Seeing the terrified reactions from rooms 401 and 402, it was absolute proof. The patients in 403 and 404 were absolute nightmares. He needed to tread very carefully. Taking a deep breath, Jiang Che pushed the door open. Falling right into the classic trope of a humble delivery boy, he smiled. "Greetings, valued customer. Your special drink has arrived. This instant coffee packet alone cost a staggering 50 ghost coins. Thank the heavens, his wallet was thick enough. Otherwise, he would be draining his own veins just to brew her twisted medicine, as expected. The moment the dark liquid touched her lips, sheer ecstasy washed over her pale face. This was the exact flavor her cursed soul craved. The system interface suddenly flashed with a loud groan. She was clearly drowning. In the absolute euphoria of this demonic delicacy, the female ghost grabbed the cup, chugging it down like a wild beast. Jiang Che could only stand there, completely speechless. She possessed such an ethereal, deadly beauty. Yet her manners were non-existent. A bit too aggressive there, sweetheart. The female ghost was completely lost in the sauce. Her terrifyingly beautiful face was twisted in pure, unadulterated bliss. The way her lips curled, dripping with foul saliva. It proved his custom brew was an absolute masterpiece. Breathing heavily, she locked eyes with him. This flavor, it is absolute perfection. I am deeply satisfied. She shoved a wad of ghost currency into his hands. Take it, and from now on, bring me this exact drink, every single day. Who would have thought? A perfect quest clear comes with a massive tip. For this kind of wealth, he would gladly be her personal barista. Thank you for your immense generosity, beautiful senior. With this stack of cash, his poverty was a thing of the past. Was this the legendary feeling of being sponsored by a demonic sugar mommy? Jiang Che clutched the money, weeping tears of pure joy. Without wasting a second, he marched straight to the cursed vending machine. He snagged 2 packs of spicy strips, a cold bottle of cola, and a premium box of biscuits. He even splurged on an Aurora flashlight worth 500 ghost coins. Buy now, strategize later. Suddenly, the system chimed. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have obtained the special item, Aurora flashlight. Simultaneously unlocking the hidden trial quest, the weeping of the Blood Knight. Jiang Che narrowed his eyes, his expression turning deadly serious. To think his golden finger would trigger a hidden death game so soon. Just then, a familiar figure sprinted toward him. It was Zhao Zhao. Jiang Che, please save me, she screamed. There is a terrifying monster right behind me. It won't stop chasing me. If you save me, I will do absolutely anything you want. It was the ultimate damsel in distress bait. However, instead of playing the hero, Jiang Che delivered a devastating, sky-shattering backhand right to her face. The impact sent her crashing into the dirt, sending her cute hair bow flying. She clutched her cheek, her voice trembling with betrayal. How could you? We were classmates. We shared so many memories, but Jiang Che's eyes were cold. This was nothing but a cheap knockoff. He ruthlessly exposed the demon's pathetic act, pointing a dominant finger right at her fake, innocent face. Playing such a low-level illusion on me, compared to my intellect, your tricks are utterly laughable. I saw right through your disguise instantly. The real Li Xiaoxiao has a beauty mark on her left cheek. Yet your flawed avatar is completely spotless, dripping with absolute arrogance. Jiang Che generously gave the imposter some advice. Next time you want to steal a face, try being a little more professional about it. Scanning her aura, he categorized her threat level. A pathetic F-rank wraith. Perfect. She would serve as an excellent guinea pig. To test out his newfound combat prowess, the air grew heavy. A brutal slaughter was about to begin. He beckoned with his fingers. Come here. Let's have some real fun. Hearing this, the demon finally dropped its cute facade. Its true, horrifying visage was revealed. Bubbling with supreme confidence in its own power, it hissed. So, you saw through my disguise. As expected of the prey I set my sights on, you will make an exquisite midnight snack. Without another word, both sides clashed. Murderous intent filled the corridor. Jiang Che summoned his absolute weapon, the demonic scissors capable of severing anything. He lunged at the female wraith. His speed broke the sound barrier. She couldn't even process his movement. Clearly, this low-tier mob had never read a comic. Villains always die because they talk too much. In the world of survival, you strike first and ask questions never. A deadly thrust to the vitals. Too slow, too sluggish. If his reflexes weren't razor sharp, he would have been the one turning into ghost food. In this nightmare dimension of horrors, trusting a friendly face is the fastest way to an early grave. Paranoia is the only path to survival. Time flowed relentlessly. Soon, the clock struck 6 in the evening. Payday had finally arrived. The head nurse, a figure of absolute dread, began distributing the wages to all the surviving hospital staff. This was the core main quest. Even if your college entrance scores were absolute garbage, surviving this meant guaranteed admission to a top university. But if you managed to clear the hidden trials, then the elite academies would be fighting tooth and nail to recruit you. It was literally a one-way ticket to godhood. Forming a solid party was usually the best strategy. However, this was the realm of demons, a place where human greed festered. Everyone prioritized their own skin above all else. If you wanted to form an alliance, you had to analyze their true combat value. And Jiang Che was absolutely certain. That bastard Li Jiahao was nothing but toxic dead weight. A heavy wave of exhaustion suddenly washed over him. His eyelids felt like lead. Whatever. I'll deal with this later. He decided to conserve his stamina, resting up before the true night began. The hours vanished into darkness. When he opened his eyes, the clock read 10 p.m. He cursed under his breath. Damn it. I almost slept past the witching hour. But as his vision cleared, a cold sweat broke out. This space. It was completely warped. This was no longer the Yellow Springs Hospital. Everything felt devastatingly wrong. The atmosphere was suffocating. Is this the true form of the hospital? The darkness was absolute, devouring all light. Without hesitation, he activated his trump card. The Aurora flashlight pierced through the abyss. Every survival instinct in his body was screaming. Stepping outside now would mean brushing shoulders with death. He slowly crept toward the wooden door. Suddenly, a chilling sound echoed from the hallway. He pressed his face against the peephole. Holy hell! Staring right back at him was a massive, bloodshot eye, frantically twitching as it tried to look inside. Then, a desperate, agonizing scream shattered the silence. Open the door. Please, let me in. Something is right behind me. It's going to kill me. The voice belonged to his classmate, Lam Meng. Jiang Che's mind raced. Wasn't that guy usually a mute, cowardly background character? Why was he screaming his lungs out now? Frantically pounding on the door like a madman, warning of an approaching doom. But Jiang Che's rationality remained ice cold. He absolutely could not turn that doorknob. Whatever was lurking in that pitch-black corridor was an entity beyond human comprehension. Furthermore, every player was granted one resurrection item. Opening the door on a whim right now was basically committing suicide. Meanwhile, in the hallway beyond the door, a legion of malevolent spirits had gathered. They wore the stolen faces of his classmates, their hive mind pulsing with pure, unadulterated hatred for the protagonist, Jiang Che. I curse you! Die! You must die for me! Dragged down to hell! Burn with us! Suddenly, the frantic pounding stopped completely. Dead silence. Then, a thick, foul-smelling river of crimson blood began oozing beneath the door crack. From within the growing red puddle, a voice whispered, Why? Why didn't you save me? Jiang Che's pupils shrank. How the hell did it bypass the door's barrier? The voice wept with venomous resentment. 3 years as classmates, yet you watched me get slaughtered. Die! 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 It repeated the curse like a broken demonic record player. The puzzle pieces clicked in his mind. This monstrous wraith was using the cursed blood pool as a teleportation medium to invade his safe zone. Without a second of hesitation, he aimed the Aurora flashlight straight at the bloody abyss. Sizzle! Under the blinding, holy rays, the shadowy demon instantly evaporated. Thank God he bought this overpowered item. Honestly, these underworld spirits, if they could bypass walls, why bother knocking? Were they failed Hollywood actors in their past lives? Their dedication to the horror aesthetic was absurd. Smirking, Jiang Che finally kicked the door open. The moment he stepped into the true hospital, a haunting melody of weeping began. It was undeniably the sobbing of a grieving woman. Ding! Hidden quest clue discovered! Identify the source of the weeping soul. The weeping of the Blood Knight. Current completion progress, 10%. The higher the completion rate of a hidden trial, the more broken the final rewards would be. If he wanted to push that progress bar to the limit, sitting around wasn't an option. It was time to hunt down the darkness. I need to find the source of that weeping. But judging by the echoes, she's definitely not on this floor. My flashlight battery is dropping fast. 2 hours and 40 minutes left until total darkness. I should regroup. Wandering blindly in a ghost-infested hospital is a death wish. Besides, my cheat-like system hasn't triggered a single prompt. Without any divine guidance, the only logical choice is to fall back for now. I'll survive the night and plan my next move. Morning arrives with its usual dread. Following my routine, I brew a special cup of coffee for the spectral madam in room 403. Time to put on an award-winning performance. I couldn't sleep a wink last night. I complained bitterly. Some absolute lunatic kept crying in the corridors. It was driving me insane. I lean in, testing the waters. Does our lovely madam know who was making all that racket? Just as I calculated. Her ghostly aura flickers with hesitation. Bury your curiosity, she warns, her voice trembling. If the head nurse finds out you're asking, she will butcher us both. In this cursed place, ignorance is your only shield. Holy crap. This hidden quest is way darker than I thought. The midnight weeping is definitely tied to that terrifying head nurse. Even the high-level evil spirits here are paralyzed by fear of her. I slowly close the door, my mind racing. First things first. I need to clear the daily tasks that Psycho Head Nurse assigned me. Only then can I dig into this bloody conspiracy. Checking my system log. Today's nightmare assignment. Ascend to the 8th floor. Locate the missing patient from room 404. Suddenly, a chilling voice whispers right behind my neck. Brother Che! My combat instincts take over instantly. I whip out my cursed weapon, ready to completely obliterate the threat. Wait. It's not a demon? It's just a fellow human player. Ah foo. I lower my blade, exhaling sharply. Just a reflex, kid. Don't sneak up on me. In this hellhole, a slow reaction means a missing head. What do you want? I ask coldly. It turns out this trembling rookie did his homework. He knows about my suicidal mission to the 8th floor. He explains that he and Little June formed a squad for that exact zone. But Little June made a fatal rookie mistake. He went to the restroom alone. Ah Fu waited, but his partner just vanished into thin air. Rumor has it, a malicious evil spirit haunts those stalls. A classic urban legend demon that corners its prey. Do you want the red paper, the white paper, or the yellow paper? Little June chose white, and got completely wiped from existence. I sigh, pinching the bridge of my nose. Spit it out, ah Fu. Don't waste my time with horror stories. The kid nervously wrings his hands together. He knows a low-level weakling like him has nothing to offer an overpowered player like me. He knows I have zero reasons to carry him. But desperation pushes him to beg. If you're strong enough, please, just let me tag along. Protect me this once. I analyze his aura. No deceit detected. In this treacherous game, a terrified meat shield might actually be useful. A dark smirk slowly forms on my face. Fine. I'll make sure you don't die a pathetic death. Leaving the kid trembling with relief, I head straight for the danger zone. The cursed 8th floor. I kick open the door to the men's restroom. A grim, blood-stained sanctuary. Perfect for plotting my next move. Suddenly, the system interface flashes with a mocking prompt. Are you here to use the facilities, player? What kind of trash tier notification is this? Screw this useless system. I sit on the closed toilet, waiting in the dead silence. Then, the shadows shift. 3 pieces of colored paper slide ominously under the stall door. Exactly as the terrified rookie described. 1 crimson red, 1 bone white, 1 sickly yellow. The demonic entity outside begins its raspy, cursed chant. Which color do you choose? Oh, please. Do I look like I have time to play stupid games with a toilet ghost? If you're going to attack, just do it. Bam! I kick the stall door open with explosive force. The heavy wood smashes directly into the demon's grotesque face. The evil spirit stumbles back, absolutely bewildered. Wait, isn't intimidating the victim supposed to be my job? Too bad for you. I'm the one making the rules here. Before the stunned demon can even process its shattered pride, I dash forward, closing the distance in a heartbeat. Annoying trash mobs like this don't deserve a monologue. They deserve absolute annihilation. I grip my cursed scissors, plunging them into its spectral flesh. Strike after strike. This is for the poor newbies you devoured. I mock ruthlessly. This lazy parasite thought it could just camp a restroom for free meals? Isn't the filth in here enough to satisfy your pathetic hunger? You just had to crave human flesh, didn't you? Do you have any idea how expensive cremation fees are in the real world? Who's gonna pay for their funerals, huh? Faced with my overwhelming aura, the demon's survival instincts kick in. It desperately realizes that bribery is its only way out. Trembling, it forcefully hands over every single cursed coin it hoarded. I pause my blade, pocketing the spirit currency. Smart move, trash. Desperate to survive, the battered demon tries to flatter me. That kid, little June, is so lucky to have a righteous savior like you. Righteous savior? I almost laugh out loud. I didn't even know that dead extra's name until 5 minutes ago. I just needed an excuse to exercise my absolute dominance. I'm just playing the role of the tragic hero, I scoff inwardly. But playtime is over. I brutally grab the demon by its decaying hair, yanking its head back. My chilling gaze pierces through its soul. Now, time for the real interrogation. Have you seen the cursed patient from room 404? The threat of death loosens its disgusting tongue. Finally, a solid lead. This pathetic stall camper actually saw my target. He's in the women's restroom right next door, it squeals. The pieces of today's deadly puzzle are falling into place. My target from room 404 is a depraved, ancient ghoul with a twisted obsession. A monster that lurks in restrooms, reading filthy adult magazines. Right on cue, the system interface shimmers to life. A new golden prompt appears, revealing the target's fatal flaw. What's wrong with a demon indulging in lust and top-tier liquor? Alas, in this hellscape, good booze is impossible to find, leaving only twisted desires to feed upon. So that's the old pervert's weakness. The system literally handed me the cheat code to this boss. I kick open the women's restroom door, confronting the grotesque elder. Hey, old man, I shout, my voice dripping with confidence. How about a legendary bottle of Mutai? I don't give him a choice. I shove the spectral liquor right into his hands. He takes a greedy gulp, and the demonic energy around him instantly stabilizes. A look of pure, unadulterated ecstasy washes over his decaying face. Heavens above. This fiery burn, this divine taste, mixing premium human alcohol with abyssal energy. This vile creature truly is a slave to the bottle. That will be 50 phantom coins, a bottle, I declare, securing my extortion fee. Earning currency in this nightmare realm brings tears of joy to my eyes. Now that the bribe is complete, I shift my demeanor. Putting on an innocent, harmless expression, I spring the real trap. Say, old-timer, do you know anything about that terrifying midnight weeping? It's so loud, I can barely hear my own thoughts. I frame it as simple, harmless curiosity. But beneath my calm exterior, my hunter's instinct is screaming for the truth. I casually dangle the ultimate bait. You know, my inventory is completely stocked with premium alcohol. Spill the secrets, and I'll keep your cup full until the end of time. The old demon freezes, the liquor suddenly forgotten. Once again, that suffocating aura of fear fills the room. Turn back now, mortal, he hisses, his eyes wide with terror. If the head nurse catches you digging into that, she will slaughter you without hesitation. But the greed for more booze overrides his survival instincts. If you truly wish to court death, seek your answers on the rooftop. The rooftop? Hell yes, I'm going right now. Hesitation only leads to game over. But as I step out, my tactical mind analyzes the environment. I burst through the final stairwell doors onto the roof. It looks deceptively ordinary, save for the oppressive, blood-stained sky stretching endlessly above, a crimson and ash twilight that defies all logic. Is this hospital an entirely separate dimension created by a demonic lord, or just a fragmented territory within the abyss? I peer over the ledge. The surrounding buildings, the twisted road I arrived on, all erased. swallowed by an impenetrable fog of pure malice. The spatial rules of this domain are completely warped. There's a terrifying, unseen mechanic governing this zone, but I shake my head, snapping back to reality. Lore hunting won't keep me alive. I need hard evidence. If I can clear this hidden challenge quest, my power level will skyrocket, and I can finally escape this instance. I will shatter this nightmare and return to the real world. If the daylight reveals nothing, I'll just have to brave the horrors of the night and return. I sweep the desolate rooftop with my enhanced perception. Suddenly, my gaze locks onto an anomaly near the ventilation units. A foreign object, entirely out of place in this ghostly realm. I cautiously approach, my aura flaring defensively. What in the abyss is this doing here? It's a smartphone, and not just any phone. A cheap, ancient knockoff brand. A golden notification shatters the silence. Ding! Congratulations to the player. Special key item acquired. Evidence of the midnight weeping. Hidden quest progress updated to 50%. Talk about absolute main character luck. I scoop up the cracked device, my blood pumping with adrenaline. A triumphant grin spreads across my face. This cheap piece of plastic is the artifact that will break this dungeon wide open. Never underestimate the durability of a bootleg phone, but my celebration is violently cut short. The system text suddenly bleeds crimson red. Warning. Terrible secrets are meant to remain buried in the dark. When you peer into the abyss to uncover a monster's truth, be warned. The monster is already standing right behind you. The cryptic words send a shockwave of absolute ice through my veins. What kind of hellish death flag is this? Instantly, a suffocating putrid stench invades my lungs. It's a demonic pressure far surpassing an F-rank entity. Damn it. I triggered an instant death scenario. An elite, high-tier abomination has locked onto me. I could slaughter regular F-rank trash all day, but a boss-level threat? My current stats will be instantly crushed. I slowly turn around, cold sweat dripping down my jaw. Towering behind me, silent as the grave. The terrifying head nurse. "What are you doing up here, little rat?" She hisses. There's no escaping this. Time to act for my life. I scratch my head, forcing the most harmless, foolish smile I can muster. "Good evening, esteemed head nurse." I stutter perfectly, just coming up to catch a breath of this lovely demonic air. Her lifeless, sunken eyes pierce through my soul. The suspicion radiating from her could literally cut glass. I immediately launch into my alibi to defuse her murderous intent. "I swear I'm not slacking off on my shift, boss. I already secured the target from room 404 and dragged him back. I just needed a tiny break. You know how absolutely vile that old demon's stench is, right? I just needed a minute to clear my lungs." I keep my face completely innocent, but behind my back, my knuckles are white as bone, gripping my cursed weapon, ready to detonate all my power if she attacks. He realized his current demonic energy was absolutely useless against her power level. But if push came to shove, he would just burn through a resurrection item. The head nurse locked her dead eyes onto him. She stared intensely, before coldly ordering him to scram. Jiang Che had successfully survived another deadly encounter. Just like every other day, at exactly 6 in the evening, the survivors gathered in the main lobby. By now, the entire class had seen through Jia Hao's hypocritical mask. Whispers of mockery filled the room. If it were not for his overpowered artifact sword last time, the group would never have surrendered all their funds to him. Wearing the title of class president, he shamelessly extorted their hard-earned ghost currency. 3 years of trust, completely thrown into the trash. Jia Hao then shifted his arrogant gaze toward our main character. Seeing Jiang Che holding a measly 5-value ghost coin, he sneered in pure disgust. He spat out a curse. "Thank the heavens I didn't team up with a loser like you. I thought you were someone special, but you are just a lucky dog. Damn it." Jiang Che cursed internally. He had been penalized by the nurse. It was not because he lacked the skills to earn rewards. Jia Hao was nothing but absolute scum. Extorting weak classmates? Is that supposed to be a flex? If you are so overpowered, go rob a real demon and let daddy see. Later, Jiang Che returned to his dark room. He spammed the power button until his thumb ached, but the cursed phone stayed dead. Then, he recalled the system prompt. Secrets unknown to the living are always hidden within the absolute shadows. Could it be? This phone only operates under the cover of night. He decided to test his theory. At exactly 7:30 in the evening, the screen flickered to life. His deduction was absolutely spot on. The device unlocked. As expected of my god-tier intellect, he smirked. On the screen sat a single video file. Without hesitation, He tapped play. He thought it was a clue, but his own distorted face stared right back at him. The eerie atmosphere was incredibly horrifying. It took all of his mental fortitude just to keep from wetting himself in terror. Holy crap. Jiang Che felt a chilling terror run down his spine. The footage showed his demonic doppelganger taking a blade and slicing slowly into his own cheek. Suddenly, in the real world, a fresh bloody gash tore open across his face. This was a fatal synchronization curse, and right now, the entity in the video raised the blade high, aiming straight for its own throat. Damn it all to hell. You bastard. Could he do anything to break this spell? As the lethal blade inched closer to the jugular, a sudden flash of realization hit him. He possessed a system artifact, the Aurora flashlight. How could he forget his trump card in a life-or-death moment? He instantly whipped out the flashlight, blasting a blinding holy beam directly at the screen. A piercing, ear-shattering shriek erupted from the device. The entity desperately begged him to stop. It cried out for mercy. The phone clattered loudly to the floor. The deadly aura finally vanished. Jiang Che gasped for air, his heart hammering violently against his ribs. Thank the heavens this artifact worked against demonic intent. Otherwise, his throat would be slit open by now. Truly worthy of being a 30% progression reward. Talk about a massive adrenaline rush. Regaining his absolute composure, he picked the phone back up. A new file began to play. It showed a helpless young woman being violently restrained. The disgusting monster attacking her was using this exact phone to record the atrocity. The dark truth hit him. It was a female nurse, being violently assaulted by a depraved patient. She fought back with everything she had, but her fragile human strength was no match. The sick bastard ruthlessly stripped her, subjected her to pure psychological torment, and threatened her life. If she dared to resist, he would brutally murder her on the spot. As the static cleared, the tragic image sharpened. He noticed a distinct mole near the corner of her mouth. His eyes widened in shock. This vulnerable girl was the terrifying head nurse in her youth. He wondered who that absolute piece of trash was. Suddenly, the dark footage abruptly ended, but the system remained dead silent. No mission progression unlocked. Did he miss a crucial hidden detail? Refusing to give up, he scrubbed the timeline. Rewinding 22 seconds, 14 seconds, 17 seconds. Bingo! He finally spotted the hidden lore. The rusted plate on the door read, Room 1401. Ding! The system chimed. Quest clue unlocked. Welcome to the Dream Inspection Trial. Asterisk ding. Asterisk system notification confirmed. Quest progress for Crying in the Bloody Night has hit 60%. The horrific truth of this dungeon is finally unlocking. His survival rating is climbing. The next objective? The forbidden zone known as Room 1401. Dragging his exhausted, weak body up the stairs, his legs felt like they were shattering into pieces. Who designs a death game with 14 flights of stairs? The cursed elevators were locked down, practically a guaranteed death trap. Gritting his teeth through the agonizing pain, he pushed his mortal limits. Welcome to the 14th floor. But as he approached room 1401, click, clack, the blood-curdling echo of high heels. An elite entity was approaching. Stealth mode activated. Diving into the pitch-black shadows, he held his breath. Was it the legendary blood-soaked head nurse? No. The dark aura was completely different. This was an unknown, terrifying new variant. Suffocating, killing intent flooded the corridor. He thanked his lucky stars his presence was concealed, but his gamer instinct screamed in pure panic. Something about this entire scenario felt fatally wrong. A hidden boss spawning out of nowhere? Before he could even process the anomaly, icy whispers brushed against his neck. Phantom children materialized from the void, begging their big brother to play a deadly game. Holy terrifying jump scare. Acting on pure adrenaline, he blasted them with his holy light artifact. The blinding beam incinerated the lesser spirits into absolute nothingness. A close brush with death, but the shrieks of the perishing ghosts triggered a fatal chain reaction. The demonic nurse locked onto his position. Her voice dripped with pure venom, calling him a filthy mortal. Talk about catastrophic RNG. A primal terror gripped his very soul. Desperate, he focused the blinding artifact straight at her face. Nullified. The elite monster barely flinched. His low-level gear was completely useless against her overwhelming aura. System warning flashing bright red. Level gap too massive. His only viable tactic? Run for his absolute life. But the demonic entity blitzed after him with unimaginable terrifying speed. A blood-rusted surgical blade sliced through the dead air. He desperately threw himself down, narrowly saving his own head. Cornered and outmatched, he had to make the ultimate, life-or-death gamble. Pushing off the ground, he unleashed a devastating kick, smashing open the rooftop access door and sprinting out. Success. The invisible barrier held the demonic nurse back. His insane tactical read was flawless. Any ordinary player would have fled downstairs in a panic, only to be slaughtered in mere minutes. But his analytical mind pieced together the hidden dungeon lore, the absolute terror radiating from the weeping sounds. Even the corrupted hospital staff lived in absolute dread of that weeping. Following the hierarchy of horror, this meant the true apex predator resided higher up. The literal epicenter of this nightmare was the rooftop, the origin point of the dungeon's curse. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted to absolute zero. A spectral little girl manifested right behind his back, her chilling voice demanding to know his identity. Asterisk ding. Asterisk system prompt activated, reading the hidden boss's tragic inner soul. Why is everyone so terrified of me? A desperate, agonizing plea for a friend, just wanting to share a simple meal and play. Did little Xiao Xiao do something unforgivable? Her innocent sorrow echoed through the dark void. The terrifying, supreme entity was merely a tragic, misunderstood child trapped in eternal isolation. The demon tamer instinct awakened. Overriding his mortal fear, he gently patted the spectral anomaly's head. What a beautiful name. He smiled warmly, declaring himself her long-awaited, legendary playmate. A masterclass in monster taming. He led the ultimate weapon back down to the 14th floor, showering her with system-bought snacks. Her terrifying dark aura instantly stabilized into pure, radiant joy. Let us go on a grand adventure together. The tragic, barefoot spirit, long abandoned by her own mother, blindly trusted her new, powerful master. A flawless soul contract forged through sheer kindness. He gently wiped the phantom crumbs from her spectral face. The ultimate shield acquired. Terrified of Xiao Xiao's supreme, overwhelming aura, the demonic nurse cowers in the shadows. Now, time to breach the final boss room, that cursed room 1401. Our main character was finally going to drag its darkest secrets into the light. As the heavy door slowly groaned open, he casually activated his system skill once more. The little demon familiar was completely caught off guard, hilariously slamming its tiny horns straight into his back. But the brief moment of comedy vanished in an instant. A bone-chilling aura leaked from the shadows. Something truly sinister was waiting for them inside. This is incredibly bad. I absolutely cannot let Xiao Xiao see this. I immediately clamped my hands over the little girl's eyes. How could this room be so sickeningly filthy and corrupt? What in the world happened inside this cursed place? Hanging right in the center was a man crucified on a wooden cross. His eyes twitched violently. He was still completely conscious. For my taste, this sick torture was way too extreme. The terrifying ghost nurse from the hallway was standing right beside him. Her heavy blade plunged deep straight through the man's neck. The crucified man choked on his own blood, desperately crying out that he knew his mistakes. But that demonic nurse had absolutely no intention of stopping. I stood frozen at the doorway. Wasn't this room 1401? And what was that repulsive pile of meat rotting on the floor like a dead duck? It made my stomach churn. Xiao Xiao absolutely could not witness this horrific slaughter. I kept her eyes tightly covered. Suddenly, the crucified victim noticed me watching from the shadows. His eyes widened in desperate hope, silently pleading for me to save him. But before I could react, the ghost nurse slashed her blade. His tongue hit the floor. Pure, unadulterated brutality. I couldn't hear a single sound from him. Had the shock finally killed him? But a second later, an agonizing wail shattered the deadly silence. He cried out in absolute torment, begging the demonic nurse for mercy. He swore he realized his sins. Wait, how was he speaking without a tongue? I blinked in pure disbelief. The entire room had reset. His body was completely whole again. What kind of nightmare is this? An infinite reincarnation of suffering. The ghost nurse let out a sickening giggle. She lunged with her butcher knife, repeating the exact same slaughter. Stabbing. Slicing. Cutting the tongue over and over again. Xiao Xiao tugged at my sleeve. She felt incredibly sick and wanted to leave this awful place. I nodded without a second thought. "We are leaving right now," I whispered. I strictly warned the little ghost not to open her eyes yet. I carefully guided her away from the horror back to the safety of the rooftop. "All right, you can open them now." She slowly fluttered her eyes open and gasped in pure amazement. Right in front of her was a giant, rainbow-colored lollipop. Her eyes sparkled with absolute joy. "Did you really buy this for me?" she asked timidly. Of course I did, little one. I smiled, asking if she liked her gift. Her beaming expression said it all. She loved it more than anything in the world. But then, her smile slowly faded. She looked up at me with anxious eyes. I am just afraid. You won't come play with me anymore. Lying to her left a bitter taste in my mouth. But I patted her head anyway. Don't worry, Xiao Xiao. I promise you, we will definitely meet again. Ding! The system interface suddenly chimed in my mind. Hidden quest alert. The crying child in the blood night. Current progress, 70%. I was dangerously close. Just a little more effort and I would completely shatter this nightmare trial. The rewards were absolutely legendary. Direct admission to an elite university. Plus, a staggering 1 million system credits. Sure, I had transmigrated into this world, but my tragic family background remained exactly the same. 10 years ago, my parents vanished without a trace. My older sister, barely a teenager herself at the time, endured unimaginable hardship to raise me. She sacrificed her entire youth for my sake. I clenched my fists tightly. I absolutely must conquer this death game. It was the only way to finally give my sister the perfect life she deserved. With burning resolve, I headed down the blood-stained stairs. Right on cue, I bumped into Jahao. That greedy bastard actually conned 500 ghost coins from his own friends. It seemed his trickery had also unlocked the hidden quest. He glared at me arrogantly, sizing up my power. So you aren't completely useless, he sneered. He realized we were tracking the exact same clues. Get out of my way. Stop blocking the path of a true player. Honestly, my heart went out to this fool. I gave him a genuine, friendly warning. Turn back while you still can. If you die up there, I cannot save you. Xiao Xiao was already chilling on the roof. Wandering onto the 14th floor right now was pure, unfiltered suicide. But to his massive, fragile ego, my warning sounded like a direct insult. He scoffed aggressively, demanding to know why I could survive, but he couldn't. He truly believed he was the main character. Don't even dream of hogging the loot, he spat. I am taking that hidden quest reward no matter what hell I have to walk through. I shrugged with eyes as cold as ice. Suit yourself, tough guy. Enjoy the slaughter. The cursed clock struck 6:50 in the morning. Every surviving player nervously gathered in the gloomy hospital lobby. Today's hellish task? Administering injections to the demonic patients roaming the wards. Absolute despair washed over the crowd. The female students were on the verge of crying. Something was terribly wrong here. Our first time in the ghost realm was supposed to be a low-level F-rank trial. But this monstrous difficulty? It was definitely an E-rank death trap. Tutu spoke up, her voice trembling. She heard that the neighboring class had already faced an E-rank massacre. Ah, Fu nodded grimly, confirming the sheer horror. 13 people are dead, and they didn't just die. They were slaughtered even after making spirit pacts with the demonic entities. 13 contracted players. Completely wiped out. Out of everyone who played with fire, only Ye Qingyao survived her demonic pact. Hearing this absolute bloodbath, a terrified guy in our group immediately decided to forfeit. I am done playing this twisted game, he cried. Sure, the academy gave us a revive token, but the agonizing pain of getting murdered was all too real. He absolutely refused to let those monsters torture him to death again. Seeing his complete mental breakdown, the girls entirely lost their nerve. Following the herd mentality of the weak, they immediately smashed the exit button. Just the thought of injecting those fiends was enough to shatter their minds. Then, to my absolute shock, Jahao swaggered into the lobby. He survived a whole night on the deadly 14th floor? Was I looking at a supernatural miracle? I stared at him in utter disbelief. Was this arrogant punk actually a hidden powerhouse in disguise? I casually walked past him and asked the remaining group who still had their revive tokens intact. Dead silence. Not a single soul dared to meet my eyes. The horrifying truth hit me like a truck. Every single one of them had already died once. Jiahao was no exception. After completely ignoring my warning, he was brutally stabbed to death by the ghost nurse. Tiu, crushed into paste by a falling flower pot while cleaning the cursed bathroom. And poor Ah Fu, mashed into oblivion by a haunted drawer. I nearly lost my footing. Are you all totally insane? I yelled. Why didn't you quit? If you die now, your souls are erased forever. Tutu clenched her fists, her eyes burning with defiance. If I can conquer this hellhole, I am guaranteed a spot at Tsinghua University. The sheer terror of being murdered by ghosts had actually ignited her ultimate survival instincts. I refuse to lose to these freaks, she roared. Absolutely crazy kamikaze warriors. It was either ascend to absolute glory or rot in an unmarked grave. Tutu fiercely hyped up the remaining survivors. Let's crush today's mission together. Let's show these demonic bastards the true meaning of a human bloodbath. And so, the nightmare shift officially began. In no time at all, I flawlessly completed my medical rounds. I glanced down at my supply basket. Every single giant, terrifying needle was completely warped and bent out of shape. Those monstrous patients must have had bones of steel to bend medical equipment like that. Honestly, the task was a total joke to me. My designated special care patients were extremely cooperative, and if they weren't, I simply shattered their demonic faces. I casually wiped the blood off my hands, wondering how the others were surviving their wards. As I walked out into the lobby, Jiahao was standing there, waiting for me. I cracked open a fresh can of cola. "What do you want?" I asked coldly. He gritted his teeth in pure humiliation. The proud fool was actually begging me to help him survive today's death game. I rejected him without a second thought. I had zero reason to risk my life for this absolute clown, especially after his highly toxic attitude. One second he's an arrogant god, the next he's terrified. It was incredibly pathetic. But then, the unthinkable happened. Jiahao abruptly folded his body. A perfect 90-degree bow. "I was totally out of line before," he shouted. "Please, I sincerely beg for your absolute forgiveness." He was truly backed into a corner. Conquering this demonic quest meant everything to him. His life was literally hanging by a thread. But as I looked down at his trembling form, it simply had nothing to do with me. Our protagonist couldn't care less. The guy had no reason to apologize anyway. It wasn't like he actually managed to scam our hero's tamed demon. But those mocking words hit right where it hurt. The truth struck Jiahao's black heart, leaving him utterly speechless. Knowing he could never convince our overpowered hero to help, he turned to leave. But then, he dropped a massive revelation. He actually had a patient, who had a powerful connection with the terrifying head nurse. The secret was out. Room 1401 was her exclusive territory. That was exactly why he risked exploring it last night. But fate was cruel, costing him a precious chance at resurrection. He surrendered the crucial clue about the head nurse's domain. For him, the game was already over. But for our calculating protagonist, that was all the intel he needed. In the blink of an eye, he threw his arm around Jiahao like an old war buddy. "We are classmates. How could I just stand by and watch you die?" He even flaunted his epic battle record from the previous night, boasting about how he exacted brutal vengeance for Xiaotun. "If you doubt my power, just ask Ah Fu." Ah, what a truly miraculous friendship. Meanwhile, the cursed patient assigned to Jiahao was about to face absolute hell. Unlike ordinary monsters, this grotesque demon was stuffing its face in a massive hospital ward, ancient enough to grow a massive beard, yet it sat there binge-watching cartoons like a toddler. It had mutated into a giant blob of fat. The hospital bed groaned, completely failing to support its titanic body. But right at that moment, our hero's tamed demon army descended. His loyal Shadow Legion had arrived. Those wielding guns locked and loaded, those mastering blades drew their cold steel. And those without traditional weapons, they hoisted nightmare-inducing giant syringes. Anything could be a lethal weapon. The Legion launched a coordinated, overwhelming assault, slashing, stabbing, and violently plunging those syringes straight into the fat demon's massive rear. It was an absolute massacre. Jiahao, witnessing this sheer brutality from the hallway, could only gasp in absolute awe. Unbelievable. Every single F-rank nightmare entity was bowing to our hero's command. To think a human could subjugate cursed patients like a demon lord. His hidden strength was completely off the charts. A deal is a deal in the underworld. With Jiahao's deadly crisis effortlessly resolved, it was time to collect the prize. The terrified student finally spilled the classified intel concerning the head nurse's forbidden sanctum. According to his desperate whispers, the terrifying matron rested deep within basement floor 4. And the only gateway to that hellish abyss was the cursed hospital elevator. Our fearless protagonist stepped into the metallic cage. He slammed the button for basement floor 4. "Going down. Please wait a moment," the cold system voice echoed. But he wasn't alone. A pink-haired demonic entity lurked inside, chillingly asking if he sought the morgue. "Spot on. I have some time to kill, so I'm visiting the morgue. Got a problem with that?" The female demon was utterly paralyzed by his arrogance. Was this human completely insane? Did he have a death wish? Even though she was the actual monster here, She was starting to believe our hero was the true demon. Rumors said this nightmarish hospital had stood for centuries. It had miraculously cured a handful of doomed souls, while simultaneously swallowing the lives of countless others. The forgotten, unclaimed corpses were ruthlessly discarded into the morgue's icy depths. Perhaps the freezing darkness was too suffocating. Perhaps the loneliness was too maddening, because those lifeless bodies had a terrifying habit of vanishing. They loved wandering the blood-stained halls to play their twisted games. To track these restless horrors, the head nurse branded their wrists with crimson-red serial numbers. Then, the pink-haired entity flashed a sinister smile. She asked if our hero's wrist bore the same cursed mark. But as she raised her own hand to show him, it was completely bare. Panic flared in her dead eyes. Where in hell was her crimson tag? The answer was simple. Our overpowered system user had already pickpocketed it with godlike speed. The pink-haired demon violently snatched her tag back, screeching that he was nothing but a filthy, light-fingered thief. Right at that chaotic moment, ding! They had descended into the morgue's abyss. The heavy metallic doors ground open. Instantly, the female demon's face twisted in pure terror. She shrieked at him to smash the close button, but our calculating hero instantly sensed a trap. Why was an undead entity trembling with such absolute fear? And of course, the rusted elevator doors refused to shut. The heavy scent of death filled the air. Something sinister had breached the perimeter. Standing dead center in the chilling hallway was the imposing shadow of a male monster. Its head hung at a grotesque angle. When it slowly turned around, absolute nightmare fuel. Sunken, hollow sockets radiating malice, and jagged, protruding fangs dripping with rot. Suddenly, it lunged straight toward our protagonist. And the terrified female demon. Curse this damned elevator. Smashing the control panel was utterly useless against the impending doom. The monstrous abomination was mere inches from the sliding doors. The pink-haired entity unleashed a blood-curdling, hysterical scream, praying to every dark god in the underworld to seal those cursed metallic doors. By some twisted stroke of luck, the grinding gears finally obeyed, slowly dragging the heavy steel shut. However, our ultimate game-breaking protagonist was not about to play by the rules. Refusing to let her escape so easily, he forcefully jammed his bare hand between the closing steel. He mercilessly scolded the trembling undead, calling her a heartless creature completely devoid of basic demon decency. "Are you blind?" he demanded with a straight face. "Can you not see our brother out there desperately needs a lift? What if he is rushing to a life-or-death emergency, and your selfishness dooms his schedule?" He glared at the pink-haired monster, asking if she felt even a shred of soul-crushing guilt. "I have lived for over 20 years on this earth, and I have never witnessed such an absurdly hilarious scene. It was an absolute bloodthirsty nightmare. Yet our hero treated it like a passing neighbor. He was actually preaching moral values to the forces of darkness." The pink-haired demon was mentally collapsing. Was this human psychologically diseased? The cramped elevator was now a lethal cage. One fearless human, two deadly abominations. And then, the grotesque male demon decided to shatter the suffocating silence with a spine-chillingly bizarre question. It stared dead into our hero's eyes and asked, "Do you have to snap your spine to wash your hair?" What an absolutely cursed interrogation. Our majestic protagonist smoothly chose to ignore the madness. The hellish descent continued down to floor number 2. Ding! Waiting outside was another monstrous brother, dragging a horrific, blood-soaked trail of spilled intestines across the tiles. One could only seriously wonder how this decaying fiend managed to use the hospital restrooms. Any chance for a curse tutorial? Ding! Floor number 3 revealed a decaying demonic grandmother. But fear not. Our hero was the pinnacle of human society. A man overflowing with absolute. Wait! Make that absolute demon morality. He bolted out with sickening enthusiasm, gallantly escorting the rotting grandma into the steel death trap. The ancient hag silently assessed her new prey. Such spectacular arrogance. This mortal vessel was overflowing with sweet, intoxicating dopamine, the absolute finest delicacy in the underworld. Thick, foul saliva cascaded from her rotting jaws. He was exactly the kind of premium fresh meat her dark soul craved. But a second later, her milky, decaying eyes bulged out of their sockets. As she processed the sheer chaos inside the metal box, it was an absolute monster mosh pit. Our fearless hero casually snatched her terrifying false teeth right out of the air, playfully mocking the undead abomination. Hold up, the underworld actually has a dental plan? Absolute god-tier trolling. 10 out of 10 flawless execution. But the mental damage was too much. The pink-haired entity violently snapped. A grotesque, blood-gushing maw ripped open across her slender neck. She was ready to devour our main character alive. The mask of peace was instantly shattered. Every monster's bloodthirsty instinct awakened. But the grotesquely fanged demon fiercely blocked the pink-haired girl's strike. There was absolutely no way he was sharing this premium feast. His demonic hunger had reached a boiling point. And the intestine-dragging horror? He wasn't about to bow down either. He furiously lashed out to secure his piece of the prize. Even the decaying grandmother threw herself into the vicious free-for-all, desperately clawing for a shred of the human flesh. The claustrophobic air inside the elevator erupted into an absolute, blood-soaked battle royale. Ding! The nightmare cage finally slammed into basement floor 4. After tearing each other to absolute shreds, the 4 blood-crazed demons suddenly froze. The human prey was completely gone. He had vanished into thin air. What a pathetic pack of brain-dead, muscle-bound abominations. Did they seriously believe our overpowered hero would just stand there and be the main course? The truth was, long before he even approached, room 1401. His omnipotent system had already triggered a golden warning. These cursed spirits were fiercely territorial lone wolves. With so many predators and only one piece of meat, an explosive turf war was 100% guaranteed. Could he have slaughtered them all? Absolutely. But why waste precious stamina on low-intelligence cannon fodder? Using the chaos, our shadow-stepping hero smoothly bypassed the bloodbath and infiltrated the morgue. Instantly, a chilling system prompt materialized in his vision. Welcome to the realm of absolute silence. No judging gazes, no venomous whispers. A shiver ran down his spine. Every single missing corpse from the hospital was perfectly lined up right here. This twisted nightmare scenario heavily implied that his own cursed classmates might be frozen among them. But the system was not done. A classified, crimson tier secret flashed before his eyes. Only within this freezing sanctuary can the ultimate demon sink into a peaceful slumber. His footsteps echoed as he navigated the labyrinth of wooden coffins. His sharp gaze immediately locked onto a solitary, decaying book resting on a cold steel table. A hidden diary. Bound inside were faded, blood-stained photographs. The final entry read, August 25th, year unknown, weather, blazing sun. Day 1 of my medical internship. After endless years of suffering, my lifelong dream has finally been ignited. The grueling shifts are draining my soul, but my heart has never beat faster. I swear on my life, I will become a brilliant doctor. Just like the tattered diary read, September 12th, year X, Sunny. A cute little boy visited the hospital today. He didn't shed a single tear during his injection. Children are so adorable. It brought back sweet memories of my own childhood. Ding! A system prompt shattered the silence. Clue acquired, an old photo, crying in the night of blood. Quest completion at 90%. The diary continued. March 28th, year XX. Cloudy. My mentor praised my medical skills today. He said I might inherit his legacy. My heart soared with joy. He was my absolute idol. I swore I would never let him down. But then, May X, year XX. Gloomy. The words turned chaotic. Why? Why did he do it? I admired him so much. He was my guiding light in this dark world. How could he? How could he commit such a sin against me? Where was everyone? Why did no one come to save me? Disgusting. Absolutely filthy. And now, why are they staring at me with those mocking eyes? The whispers, the endless whispering all around me. Make it stop. It wasn't my fault. Are they all blind? How do I silence these maddening voices? I never asked for this. I am the victim here. Kill them! Kill them all! Jiang Chie's eyes narrowed. The pieces of the puzzle finally snapped together. To think this gruesome quest hid such a tragic abyss. The system interface glowed. Quest completion. 99%. But wait. Why stall at 99%? What kind of sick game was the system playing? Suddenly, a blaring siren shattered the air. Warning. Attention all players. The Phantom Challenge has forcefully evolved. Difficulty locked to Nightmare Mode. Once darkness falls, the butcher of the past 50 years will awaken. A new massacre is imminent. The chilling announcement echoed in the minds of every surviving player. Jiang Chie could only let out a bitter chuckle. Nightmare Mode? A legendary difficulty unseen in centuries, and of course, his rotten luck triggered it. Though the mortality rate of nightmare mode was absolute, the hidden rewards were realms beyond a normal dungeon. Ding! Final quest updated. Crying in the Night of Blood. The ultimate liberation. This trash system was definitely out to screw him over. He had bled to push that progress bar to 99%, and now the objective completely changes? Absolute bullshit. His rising aura instantly vanished, as he sensed a chilling presence right behind him. The head nurse. Her voice was eerily sweet. "What are you doing here, little rat?" He was caught red-handed, busted right while snooping through her darkest secrets. Explanations were useless now. His instincts screamed, run first, survive later. But to his utter shock, the head nurse didn't move a single muscle to chase him. Jiang Qie took the elevator straight down to the first floor. The doors slid open, revealing his 3 terrified teammates rushing in. Once they caught their breath, he crossed his arms. "What are you 3 doing down here?" Tutu was trembling like a leaf. Hearing he had ventured into the morgue, she anxiously checked if he was hurt. "What do we do now?" Jiang Qie shared his intel. He encountered the boss in the morgue, yet for some unknown reason, she didn't strike. But make no mistake, nightmare mode is a literal death sentence. With 0 resurrection items, his advice was cold and absolute. Forfeit the game immediately. But Jiahao clenched his fists. No way. The danger was astronomical, but the loot drop from clearing this would be legendary. However, logically speaking, nightmare mode against a party of rookies? It was a guaranteed 100% wipeout. Jiahao was basically throwing his life away. He knew the risks, but he had no other choice. Stealing the party's ghost marrow earlier? A desperate move. He swore on his life. If they somehow survived this hell, he would compensate them 1,000 times over. Ah Fu, however, wasn't drinking the fantasy potion. Jiahao's burning ambition was useless against Ah Fu's rock-bottom courage. Trembling, the coward declared he was logging out. "At least I won't be a burden to you guys." As his avatar began to dissolve, he cast one last look at his team. "Stay alive, you crazy bastards." Now, only Jiang Qie, Tie Tie, and Jiahao remained. Jiang Qie was about to order the other 2 to disconnect, when suddenly, they completely caught him off guard. Each of them desperately hugged one of his legs. "Boss, you have to carry us, please." Seeing their utterly pathetic puppy dog expressions, Jiang Qie let out a heavy sigh. "Fine, looks like I'm hard carrying this miserable party." But he laid down the law. "You chose this suicidal path. If you die out there, your blood is on your own hands." Meanwhile, deep within the freezing morgue, the head nurse's lips twisted into a grotesque, satisfied grin. The moment she had craved was finally here. The infamous serial killer from a decade ago was none other than her. When the clock strikes 12, her hunt begins. The hour of execution rapidly approached. Tick, tock, midnight struck. The dungeon's aura twisted into pure malice. Yet, Jiang Qie's squad was still frantically strategizing. Jiahao tried to boost morale. "Stay calm. If we combine our skills, we can clear this." Bang! A massive force slammed against their door. The head nurse was here. Her voice oozed through the cracks. "Rule reminder, only 1 patient per room, no grouping allowed." Inside, Jiang Qie's team braced the door, refusing to yield. Her patience snapped instantly. "Open this door, or I will slaughter every last one of you." Without even waiting for a response, she unleashed her demonic aura. Her ghost claws shredded the reinforced steel like paper. She stepped into the room. Her visage was pure nightmare fuel. Giggling hysterically, her eyes burned with psychotic ecstasy. The death game had begun. Jiahao roared at the top of his lungs. "Run! I will hold this monster off." The shattered wall provided a perfect escape route. It was their only way out. Jiahao stood tall, screaming at them to leave him behind. "Go, before I change my damn mind. Don't look back." But before Tutu could utter a word of gratitude, Jiahao's eyes widened in sheer terror. Survival instincts kicked in. He violently shoved Tutu to the ground and bolted. He sprinted for his life like a cowardly rat. The blatant betrayal left Jiang Qie utterly stunned. He whipped his head around. "What the hell was that?" Tutu lay there, heartbroken and paralyzed. "Class rep, how could you stab us in the back so fast?" Jiang Qie's voice cut through the despair. "Stop spacing out. Hit the emergency logout button. Quit the game, now." But his warning was a fraction of a second too late. The head nurse's blade descended with blinding speed, before Tiertier's finger could even touch the system panel. A fatal strike. She was instantly obliterated. No time for hesitation. Jiangqi activated his movement skill and dashed. Behind him, having tasted fresh blood, the boss revealed a horrifying, twisted smile. Her abyssal eyes flared with absolute bloodlust. Meanwhile, Jiang Qie and Jiahao had rushed up to the 14th floor. Knowing the main character was pissed, Jiahao decided to strike first with excuses. "Don't judge me," he panted heavily. "If heaven destroys those who don't look out for themselves, then I choose to live." Back in middle school, my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. My mother abandoned us for another man. Even my beloved grandfather died from the sheer shock. I had to sell everything we owned just to survive. Money was utterly useless. This disease was a bottomless abyss. Ji Hao's father remained trapped on his deathbed. The truth was simple. Ji Hao absolutely could not watch his own flesh and blood wither away. He had to save him. This system trial was his only lifeline. If he failed to pull his father from the abyss, he would rather die right here. But Jiang Zhe, our main character, couldn't care less about his tragic backstory. He coldly told Jiahao to save his breath. There was zero need for explanations, and absolutely no reason to fish for cheap sympathy from others. Li Xiaoxiao had once made a promise. If they survived this hellish nightmare, she would treat the whole party to a home-cooked meal. She had already whispered to Jiang Zhe about Jiahao's miserable background. Seeing his current expression, the guy actually looked somewhat remorseful. He tightly shut his eyes, cowardly refusing to face the harsh reality. But Xiao Xiao genuinely treated Jiahao as a comrade. She knew his path was forged in thorns. If all three of them cleared this death game, she swore to find a way to help him. Jiang Zhe merely walked away. Jiahao's twisted logic wasn't entirely wrong. Every man for himself, or the heavens and earth, will destroy you. In this dark world, everyone forged their own bloody path, and everyone had to swallow the bitter consequences of their choices. But none of this concerned our main character. His absolute priority? Ensuring his own survival first. Stepping into the chilling winds, he ascended to the rooftop. The ghost child, Xiao Xiao, instantly spotted his aura. She rushed over, throwing her tiny arms around Jiang Zhe. But he wasn't here to play house today. He came to deliver a heavy truth. Yet, before a single word left his lips, the harsh screech of the rooftop door shattered the silence. The head nurse had hunted them down. That monstrous entity knew exactly where their desperate footsteps would lead. The head nurse was the ultimate nightmare of this domain. Jiang Zhe knew the truth. Brute force and mindless slaughter wouldn't clear this trial. The system's hidden requirement was never about exterminating the murderous spirit. It was a quest of salvation. He initiated his psychological warfare. Wearing a mask of utter defeat, he sighed in surrender. Since we are totally trapped, and escaping is impossible, how about you humor a dying man with a story? Just like magic, the monstrous head nurse froze. The deadly aura paused as she stood in eerie silence. Once upon a time, there was a brilliant and pure-hearted girl. She worked her fingers to the bone. Her ultimate dream? To become a head nurse, bringing a flicker of light to countless lives. Through sheer willpower, she finally earned her official title. Exhausted but utterly fulfilled, she basked in the warmth of her patients' gratitude. Her world was perfectly bright, until that fateful, cursed day. By a cruel twist of fate, her eyes witnessed pure agony. The mentor, she worshipped like a god, was committing an unspeakable, vile act with a helpless female patient. Even as her mind went completely blank with shock, she desperately lunged forward to stop him. But the beast hidden beneath her teacher's human skin completely awakened. Without a shred of mercy, he violently threw her down and shattered her innocence. To seal her lips forever, the demon promoted her to head nurse, her lifelong dream, granted through the most sickening nightmare. It was soul-crushing. She wanted to expose the rot to the world, but not a single soul believed her. Instead, vicious rumors spread like poison. They whispered, she sold her flesh for a hollow title, and that tragic, shattered girl is the terrifying boss of Yellow Springs Hospital. She is also the ghost child, Sun Xiaoxiao. The monstrous nurse flinched. She remembered the venomous whispers of her peers. But that wasn't the killing blow. The absolute true despair was when the patients she loved and protected started treating her like toxic waste. The head nurse suddenly curved her lips into a deadly, blood-chilling smile. Those hypocrites were nothing but garbage. So I slaughtered them all. I painted these walls with their blood. They deserved every ounce of agony. So what if I am damned to hell? Those filthy beasts will burn in eternal torment, suffering 10,000 phantom blades slicing their souls. Jiangze didn't flinch at her raging aura. In fact, he didn't deny a single word. You are absolutely right. His calm validation sent a shockwave through her dark soul. Jiangze was no holy saint. That scum of a mentor deserved to have 10,000 arrows pierce his rotting heart. But deep within, the abyss of her demonic core, a sliver of pure kindness remained. This little girl was the undeniable proof. The dreaded boss governing the 14th floor, and the crying ghost child, trapped on the desolate roof. They were the exact same entity, a fractured soul split by extreme trauma. At first, Jiangze assumed the girl was her tragic daughter, but how could such a pure, innocent child make every high-level demon tremble in fear? The brutal truth struck him. The head nurse had ripped out her final ounce of humanity, manifesting it into this tiny phantom, all to ensure this pure fragment would never be defiled by the world below. Sealing her away under the starry sky, Jiangze's gaze sharpened like a blade. Tell me, do you truly want to exist like this, chained by an eternal curse? The head nurse's dark aura flared. To her, everything was already burned to ashes. There was no salvation. So what if your brilliant mind figured it all out? I crawled out of that pitch-black hell with my own two hands. I despise your disgusting pity. Her terrifying bloodlust erupted anew. Story time is over. It is time to execute the final judgment. You and your pathetic friend can drop dead right now. Jiangze let out a heavy, frustrated sigh. In a battle of pure stats, he would be instantly crushed. But he held the ultimate hostage. Even though using this dirty tactic made him sick, the rules of this dark world were absolute. The child and the monster shared one life force. If Xiao Xiao took damage, the invincible boss would bleed. But before the threat could even leave his mouth, Jiahao shattered the standoff. What he did next made Jiangze's blood run cold. That greedy bastard swung his demonic blade and brutally struck Xiao Xiao. The little girl cried out in agony. Jiahao's eyes spun with total madness, laughing like a deranged serial killer. I won! The ultimate victory is mine. All the epic system rewards belong to me. He even had the gall to mockingly thank Jiangze. Intoxicated by his delusional triumph, he completely dropped his guard. And in this hellish survival game, arrogance equals instant death. A shadow flickered, and slash! His head was sent flying like a smashed watermelon. What an absolute moron, the head nurse sneered, wiping the blood from her horrific claws. Did this brainless trash really think a garbage-tier spirit weapon could end my immortal existence? Her pitch-black eyes locked onto Jiangze. I am officially bored. It is time to wipe the board clean. But as the fatal blow descended, a tiny figure shielded our main character. It was Xiao Xiao. Tears streamed down her translucent face. Jiangze is right. You are not a sinner. None of us are the bad guys here. Those monsters absolutely deserve to be erased. But big sister, it is enough now. The boss monster's aura spiraled into complete insanity. It will never be enough. Not all abysses want to see the light. Not all sinners beg for divine salvation. Xiao Xiao bawled, her voice cracking with raw sorrow. Those vile humans didn't need saving. It is us. We are the ones drowning in this endless hell. Haven't we paid enough for a crime we didn't commit? The agonizing truth pierced the demon's heart. Deep down, she knew the terrifying reality. Existing like this, hoarding all this power, brought zero joy. Their souls resonated with the exact same suffocating agony. The terrifying head nurse suddenly froze, her murderous intent shattering like glass. She stammered, her invincible persona crumbling. For countless years, she trapped this pure fragment in the sky, desperate to keep her smiling and untainted. But the devastating truth was, Xiao Xiao hadn't felt a single ounce of happiness. She was completely hollow. Until today, Jiangze was the anomaly that brought a spark of true warmth. He showed her a glimpse of a different fate. The tiny ghost stepped forward, wrapping her arms around her monstrous other half. She refused to watch them suffer in this purgatory for another second. Close your eyes, big sister. You can finally rest now. The nightmare is officially over. The little phantom began to dissolve into starlight. And the invincible boss. Jiangze finally let out a breath he did not know he was holding. The chaotic nightmare was over, and he had barely escaped the jaws of death. But deep down, he knew the grim truth. The phantom child, Sun Xiao Xiao, was not happy at all. The mission was a flawless victory. Well, almost. That arrogant fool, Li Jiahao, nearly got them all slaughtered. A harsh lesson was burned into Jiang Zhe's mind. Never trust a single soul in a death game. Meanwhile, the cursed head nurse was finally freed from her endless torment. The grotesque monster vanished, revealing a stunning, tragic beauty in her place. She had found her ultimate salvation. With a gentle, lingering smile, the spirit faded into nothingness. Suddenly, the cold mechanical voice of the system echoed through the void. Mission accomplished. The abyss had been conquered at last. As the system calculated his survival rewards, Jiang Zhe suddenly froze. He reached deep into his blood-stained pocket. His trembling fingers brushed against a tiny pair of shoes. Damn it, he forgot to give them to Xiao Xiao. That poor phantom girl was doomed to wander barefoot in the darkness forever. He had brought this gift just for her, but now, fate decreed they might never cross paths again. System notification chimed. Reward calculation complete. Overall personal grade S-Class. 5 attribute points awarded. Level up achieved. 5 ghost power points acquired. Exceeding limit bonus granted. 50 extra points secured. Epic loot obtained. 1 exquisite urn, 1 mini medical box, and an E-rank blood-red nurse uniform. The urn was a top-tier spectral artifact, a perfect sanctuary for taming and resting any wandering demon. Surviving the Phantom Realm was paying off massively. He eagerly tore open the mini medical box. 5 premium bandages, 5 heart-soothing pills, 5 heavy doses of sedatives, 5 doses of hemostatic medicine, but the absolute crown jewel was the E-rank blood-red nurse uniform. It was dripping with pure, concentrated resentment, a legendary artifact for any dark spirit. Jiang Zhe had hit the ultimate jackpot, commencing transport back to the real world. The void opened, ready to send him home as a conqueror. But suddenly, a massive error occurred. Transmission blocked. Jiang Zhe cursed his rotten luck. When it rains in the abyss, it absolutely pours. He stood completely frozen in the dark for dozens of seconds. The survival guides never warned about a terrifying glitch like this. Warning: redirecting host to an unknown dimension. Meanwhile, back in the mortal realm, the brutal death game for Class 12. A 2 had officially ended. The ancient principal stared intently at the glowing soul lamps. His voice trembled as he interrogated a Fu. He needed absolute confirmation of the nightmare they had just witnessed. The basic trial had forcefully mutated. It had evolved into a catastrophic nightmare mode. A Fu shook like a leaf in a hurricane. Pure terror was permanently etched into his pale face. When he miraculously escaped the realm, only 3 players remained: Jiang Zhe, Xiao, and Jiahao. If the realm had not shattered into nightmare mode, a Fu never would have unlocked the early escape route. The principal's heavy gaze locked onto the altar. Only a single soul lamp was still burning in the darkness. Only 1 student had survived the abyss. A Fu swore on his life that it was Jiang Zhe. But the arrogant purple-haired girl sneered in absolute disgust. She claimed a Fu had lost his pathetic mind from fear. If the elite Jiahao was dead, how could a useless piece of trash like Jiang Zhe possibly survive? The principal slammed his cane down. Silence. He could not hold back his overwhelming pride. In the entire blood-soaked history of their academy, no one had ever triggered, let alone survived, a nightmare mode. Whoever conquered this impossible trial would become a supreme school legend. But there was a massive, unsettling problem. The cursed dimension had completely closed. Yet Jiang Zhe had not materialized. Qingru stood in total silence, her sharp eyes hiding deep, calculating thoughts. Little did they know, our overpowered protagonist had been dragged into a completely different kind of hell. Welcome to the Myriad Heavens prison. Jiang Zhe gasped for air. This was the exact terrifying landscape from his recurring nightmares. Why did the system drag him into his own subconscious fears? Suddenly, the colossal iron gates groaned open on their own. He stepped confidently into the absolute darkness. For an entire month, this dreamscape had locked him out, denying him entry time and time again. His eyes narrowed sharply. Was this a deadly trap set by the void? Or was it destiny calling his name? The system's voice echoed with absolute, divine authority. Welcome to the Myriad Heavens prison. Greetings, Supreme Warden. You are the absolute master of this infinite domain. Boom. Blinding golden light erupted, violently devouring his entire being. An ocean of ancient knowledge flooded his mind. The prison's pulse became his heartbeat. He could perfectly sense every shadow, every chain, and every single atom in this realm. Ultimate authority surged through his veins. This was no mere dream. This legendary prison existed in reality. But looking around, Jiang Zhe cursed under his breath. This divine prison was absolutely filthy. Cobwebs covered every square inch. His sharp gaze pierced through the gloom. A chilling rattle of chains echoed from the shadows. Something monstrous was locked on this very floor. He walked straight toward the overwhelming, murderous aura. A female phantom materialized before him. Heavy divine chains completely bound her arms and legs. Just from her perfect figure, she radiated devastating beauty. But as Jiang Zhe's expectant eyes trailed up her elegant neck, his heart instantly dropped into the deepest abyss. I knew it. I knew I could not have nice things. How could she be a peerless beauty, when the damned demon did not even have a head? System prompt, cell number 1. Inmate, headless phantom beauty, Xiaoman. Affection level, absolute 0. Increasing her affection will grant the warden absolute control. It will also unlock a terrifying fraction of her demonic power. Jiang Zhe sweated cold bullets. What god-tier rank was this monster? Her suffocating pressure was 10 times worse than the mutated head nurse. Time for a tactical approach. The fastest way to tame a girl is through her stomach. He immediately started playing the ultimate host. What do you want to eat, Xiaoman? Hamburgers, sandwiches, sweet cotton candy? Name it, and your warden will provide. How about a fancy drink to wash it down? Premium coffee, cappuccino, or maybe some brown sugar boba tea with full toppings? Still bored? I can tell you some spine-chilling ghost stories. He threw out every charm tactic in the book to win her over. But the headless demon queen completely ignored his pathetic attempts. She remained as cold and silent as a glacier. That was until he casually mentioned taking her outside for some fresh air. Instantly, a horrific killing intent spiked. A telepathic screech tore through his mind. Who stole my peerless beauty? Where is my brilliant, star-like brain? I must leave this void. I must hunt down my missing head. System ping. Affection level increased by 5 points. A sly smirk crept onto Jiang Zhe's face. Farming affection points? Please. He was a veteran gamer who had conquered hundreds of dating sims. There was no boss he could not break. He confidently extended his hand toward the terrifying entity. Listen to me, and I will help you find your lost head. He spoke with the absolute authority of a master. But he celebrated his victory way too early. Xiaoman's demonic aura erupted like a raging volcano. You dare command me? Are you eager to die, human worm? A pathetic mortal like you. I can crush your soul into dust with a single finger. She prepared to annihilate him on the spot. But suddenly, her invisible throat choked. The divine chains binding her began to violently shatter. Yet, instead of fear, Jiang Zhe radiated absolute, unbreakable dominance. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned a massive glowing scroll. This arrogant ghost clearly misunderstood her position in the food chain. Did she really think she could make the warden her pet? He was going to force a blood pact on her. Consent was not an option in his domain. Listen closely, headless demon. You have exactly 2 choices. Option 1. Sign this contract and become my loyal phantom spirit. Option 2. I will completely erase your soul from existence. Choose wisely if you want to survive. The scroll unrolled, revealing absurdly tyrannical rules. Clause 1. Never harm the master under any circumstances. Clause 2. Protect the master with your immortal soul. Clause 3. Love and worship the master unconditionally. Clause 4. Excel in cooking, cleaning, and all domestic chores. Clause 5. Prepare midnight snacks upon request. Clause 6. Ensure the master's absolute happiness at all times. Clause 7. Mercilessly slaughter any hostile spirits for the master. Jiang Zhe was completely shameless. A downright scoundrel of the highest order. How could a human even draft such an utterly disgraceful slave contract? It even included a sickening clause about warming his bed when he felt lonely. Pure, unadulterated madness. Xiaoman trembled with apocalyptic rage. Being humiliated by a lowly mortal? She would rather face eternal destruction. She prepared to detonate her own spirit core. But then, her non-existent eyes locked onto the bottom of the glowing scroll. Clause 12 changed absolutely everything. The master, Jiang Zhe, is bound by heavy destiny. To help Xiaoman retrieve her missing head at all costs. It was an unbreakable vow. This single, vital condition was all she needed. With a massive surge of dark energy, she sealed the demonic pact. Flash! The void ripped open, violently throwing Jiang Zhe back into reality. He had finally escaped the myriad heavens prison. Back in the classroom, jaws dropped in pure shock as the ultimate survivor finally returned. Jiang Zhe's treatment flipped overnight and the usual jealousy vanished without a trace. Now, Everyone worshipped the ground he walked on, especially Ah Fu, who looked at him like a literal savior. But our main character was utterly clueless. They treated him like a superstar, pouring his tea, offering him premium water, flooding him with anxious questions about his well-being. Jiang Zhe stood there, completely baffled. What in the world had gotten into these people? Then the old principal dropped a bombshell, calling him the Academy's one and only light of hope. Jiang Zhe was left completely speechless. Overnight, the underdog had become the Academy's golden child. A single cough would send the entire crowd swarming to serve him. But the real shock came next. Qing Yao, the untouchable Ice Queen, sought him out personally. She asked for a private word away from the glaring eyes. As the undisputed beauty of the Academy, why was she looking for a guy like him? A ridiculous thought crossed his mind. Was his protagonist Halo finally awakening? Was this aloof goddess actually falling for his hidden charm? They stood side by side on the isolated balcony. The tension in the air was palpable. Then, her cold voice broke the silence. She congratulated him on surviving the trial's slaughter, conquering a nightmare-tier mission, no less. But Jiang Zhe played it perfectly humble, downplaying his own heaven-defying potential. He claimed his strength was nothing compared to hers, praising her for binding a terrifying demonic spirit. He needed to keep his own secrets buried deep. His pact with Xiao Man and the All-Heavens prison must remain hidden in the absolute shadows. But the Ice Queen saw right through his facade, her piercing gaze locked onto his soul. "Are you playing dumb?" she demanded coldly. "You forged a dark pact with the Abyss too, didn't you? Otherwise, why did so many from your class end up dead?" Jiang Zhe froze, his blood running ice cold. Inwardly, he screamed at Xiao Man for answers. How did this terrifying woman sense her presence? The brutal truth finally hit him. Contracted spirits could sense each other's auras instinctively. Such a vital rule of the dark arts. And she was only warning him now? Jiang Zhe slapped his forehead in pure frustration. This was a catastrophic miscalculation. His absolute secrecy was already compromised by this woman. Qing Yao pressed him further without a shred of mercy. "How many human tributes did your spirit demand?" Jiang Zhe blinked, utterly bewildered. "Tributes? What the hell kind of demonic rule was that?" She sneered, asking if he was the one who slaughtered Xiao Xiao and Jia Hao. "We are both tamers. Drop the innocent act." The horrific reality dawned on him. When mortals bind themselves to the abyss, humans are always the desperate prey. An equal pact was nothing but a foolish myth. Meanwhile, Xiao Man whined in his mind, jealous of the royal treatment Qing Yao's spirit received. Jiang Zhe finally understood the horrifying bloodbath. The 13 students who vanished in her trial. They were butchered as sacrifices for her demonic entity. His expression hardened into a deadly, tense glare. The atmosphere between them reached a boiling point. In this twisted game, only the two of them held true power. Without warning, Qing Yao pulled out her phone's QR code, demanding they exchange contacts to scheme together. "Keep your deadly enemies close, right?" The clock struck 5 p.m., echoing like a death knell. The campus speakers crackled to life. The nightmare trial was officially declared over. Then began the grim reading of the fallen victims. Name after name echoed across the silent courtyard. The 13 sacrificed students were all confirmed dead. Jiang Zhe's survival instincts were screaming. That Ice Queen was an absolute, cold-blooded monster. Xiao Man whispered darkly in his mind. "Master, should I rip her to shreds right now?" He immediately shut down her terrifying bloodlust. "Stand down," he commanded her silently. "You're supposed to be a divine fairy, not a butcher. Stop demanding blood every 5 seconds. It's embarrassing. In the abyssal dimensions, murder was fine. But unleashing a demonic slaughter in the mortal realm would invite disaster. Drawing the gaze of powerful, scheming enemies would bring catastrophic consequences upon them both. The fallout would be utterly unimaginable. Besides, Xiao Man wasn't just some ordinary phantom. The divine secret of the All-Heavens prison had to be protected at the cost of his life. Exposure meant absolute annihilation for them both. Reluctantly, the ancient entity obeyed his command, trusting the judgment of her mortal master. Just then, a wave of agonizing wails pierced the air. Xiao Xiao's parents collapsed onto the freezing concrete, their heart-wrenching sobs shattering the silence. Beside them, Jia Hao's father fell to his trembling knees. The grieving families cursed the demonic trials to hell, condemning the system that slaughtered their innocent children. A heavy weight settled on Jiang Zhe's chest. He wasn't entirely numb to the tragedy. These were real mortal lives extinguished forever. Yet, a cold and brutal truth remained. The trials were forced, but survival was a choice. The academy allowed anyone to tap out immediately. If the fear was too much, they could have fled. Ultimately, they gambled with their own fragile fates. Suddenly, his older sister stormed into view, scolding him with furious concern blazing in her eyes. "Why the hell weren't you answering your phone?" He could only rub the back of his neck sheepishly, forcing a laugh and blaming it on pure distraction. They turned their backs on the tragedy and headed home. She promised to cook his absolute favorite meal tonight, a fleeting moment of warmth in a dark, twisted world. But on the way, her tone shifted dramatically. She had heard about the 11 deaths in his class. The abyss was a literal death trap, and she was terrified. She begged him never to enter that realm again. Hearing this, Xiaoman seethed with phantom rage, believing this mortal woman was sabotaging her master, delaying the ultimate quest to find her severed head. Mortal women are so endlessly infuriating. Jiangze frantically commanded his spirit to chill out. Talking to her was like playing music to a deaf beast, barely stopping her from unleashing hell on his sister. Once the demonic tantrum was safely suppressed, he proudly revealed his impossible achievement. He had conquered the Nightmare Tier mission, expecting his sister to cheer for his legendary growth. Instead, she rolled her eyes in pure disbelief, calling him a delusional, dreaming fool. "Stop bragging and wake up from your fantasy." She knew his weak stats better than anyone alive. Or so she thought. She bluntly ordered him to rest his weary bones, while she prepared his graduation outfit, completely dismissing his godly potential, banning him from the ghostly dimensions entirely, threatening to shatter his legs if he dared disobey. Slaving away at a factory assembly line is better than dying. Time flashed forward to the momentous graduation day. Jiangze lounged in the grandstands with a sigh. There was no way he'd spend his life tightening screws. He possessed heaven-defying power now. With his flawless, clear record, he expected a massive scholarship announcement. But the academy had buried the true rankings, masking the survival stats in utter secrecy. Only whispers among students revealed the brutal truth. Remaining in the shadows was the only way to survive. Suddenly, a chilling fragrance drifted past him. Jiangze's guard instantly skyrocketed. Why abandon her elite class to stalk him? Before he could interrogate her intentions, Xiaoman and Qingyao's urgent warnings rang out simultaneously. His gaze snapped to the principal's podium like lightning. The nightmare was bleeding directly into reality. Mid-speech, thick droplets of crimson blood began raining from the auditorium ceiling. Materializing above was a chained, ancient phantom, swaying ominously in the freezing, deathly wind. The entire student body was paralyzed with absolute terror. Words simply died in their dry throats. The principal practically wet himself on stage. The demonic entity was hovering right behind his neck. The paralyzing fear finally snapped. Absolute chaos erupted in the grandstands. Holy hell, it's a demon. Where are the teachers? The abyss has breached the mortal realm. Run for your lives. Yet, hidden in the shadows high above, the elites of Squad 3033 watched it all. The captain sneered at the screaming, fleeing students. What an absolute bunch of pathetic trash. Welcome to your true, blood-soaked graduation trial. The captain sneered at the pathetic display. What the trembling students had just witnessed was nothing but a low-level spiritual invasion. A mere phantom projection from his own demon spirit. It was entirely an illusion, a fake reality meant to test their mental fortitude. But their cowardly reactions left the captain utterly disgusted. He glared at the shivering crowd, his voice booming. If the younger generation is this weak, how will our nation survive the dark era? But then, his eyes locked onto Jiang Che. The captain was amazed by his unshakable aura. A true genius, the absolute hope of humanity. Meanwhile, our main character was just utterly clueless. He had literally frozen up from a delayed reaction, but seeing the captain stare at him with blossoming admiration, almost like love at first sight, it gave Jiang Che extreme goosebumps. Absolutely sickening. Nearby, Qingyao gasped in shock. The legendary Phantom Bureau had personally descended upon them. They were an existence cloaked in absolute mystery. In previous years, they only used subtle anomalies, testing the students from the shadows, judging if their combat grades were truly authentic. But the Phantom Bureau was the ultimate state authority. Appearing at a mere high school graduation, this was unprecedented. And in this dark world, extreme anomalies always breed deadly demons. A massive storm was brewing. Within his spiritual space, his contracted demon, Xiaoman, scoffed. Seeing him silent, she accused him of plotting something wicked. All bark and no bite, Jiangche immediately snapped back. Watch your mouth, you arrogant spirit. I will legally sue you for defaming my noble character. Using his system, he quickly analyzed the captain's aura. A pathetic rank D combatant. Compared to Xiaoman's abyssal energy, this guy was not even half as strong. Seeing his demon spirit trying to mock him again, he released a wave of Tamer's intent. Be careful, Ghost. One more word, and I will smash you back into the underworld. Suddenly, the Phantom Captain stepped up to the podium. His oppressive aura commanded absolute silence. From this exact moment onward, he forbade a single breath of noise from the students. His voice grew dark. Phantom Calendar, September 23rd, year 121. Apartment 3-214 in the Mountain District. A family vanished overnight. Their skin peeled off and hung like laundry on the balcony. Then, March 13th, year 122. The gruesome dismemberment clown incident. It struck the Meido amusement park, directly claiming 144 souls. Among them, 86 were defenseless minors. You fools think you can just wander into the abyss? Let me tell you a nightmare. The horrors of the abyss can bleed into our human world too. How many awakeners barely escaped with their lives? How many of you just slack off and pray for peace? Deep down, you all know the terrifying truth. Must humanity wait for the absolute apocalypse? Only then will you cowards wake up? Stepping into the Phantom Trial is not a game. It is a matter of absolute survival. My purpose here today is crystal clear. We are initiating a live Phantom Trial. Right here, right now. But of course, I am not a tyrant. There is no forced conscription. Those willing to fight, stay. The weak may tuck their tails and flee immediately. But hear this. On behalf of the Supreme Phantom Bureau, any student who completes this Vanguard mission gets direct admission into the prestigious Tsinghua Academy. Furthermore, the absolute top performer will immediately become a reserve member of our bureau, alongside an exclusive ultra-rare system reward. After delivering this earth-shattering monologue, the captain slammed his fist down. The time for choosing begins right now. Chaos erupted within the crowd. Panic swallowed their hearts. The captain had expected this cowardly display. Dozens of students instantly chose the path of retreat, scrambling for the exit. Yet amidst the fleeing masses, Jiangche sat like an immovable mountain, a picture of absolute bravery. Well, a forced bravery. He literally could not move a single muscle. His demonic spirit, Xiaoman, was paralyzing his entire body. He had only been back in the human realm for a few days. He wanted to enjoy a peaceful life. Please, do not drag him back to that hellish abyss. But Xiaoman had her own absolute agenda. You swore a blood oath to help me find my missing head. If we do not enter the abyss, how will you fulfill it? Still, a contracted demon overriding her master? He was supposed to be the supreme demon tamer. At least, that was his foolish delusion. In reality, this overpowered ghost treated him like a stepping stone. She coldly declared her absolute terms. A promise must be kept. Do not even dream of breaking our soul link to escape. If a contracted demon spirit is destroyed, the master suffers a fatal backlash. Best case, brain dead. Worst case, paralyzed for eternity. Still want to play games with me? Jiangche's heart bled with unimaginable rage and regret. Not a single textbook mentioned this deadly flaw. Who the hell wrote those garbage academy manuals? Oblivious to his internal war, the captain gazed proudly at the remaining students. His eyes burned with intense respect for their supposed courage. A cash reward of 200,000 yuan. He will be directly transferred to your guardians. With his final words echoing in the hall, the captain activated the spatial dungeon portal. Jiangche screamed internally. Someone, anyone, break this demonic paralysis. But the system countdown had already begun. The captain saluted them, offering his deepest blessings. May you all survive this blood-soaked crucible. The Dark Instance, Shattered Bone Academy, has officially begun. This concludes Chapter 1 of our epic saga. The journey into darkness has just started. When the next deadly chapter drops, we will be right here. Do not forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support fuels the system. Thank you, Awakeners.